Good evening. My name is Peretz Byron, son of Rabbi and Mrs. Byron from Los Angeles. And Baruch Hashem, have the privilege of being a member of this very special Kollel. I want to thank you for coming and welcome all of you to the annual Kollel Merkaz Hatorah dinner. We will begin the evening by saying a parak of Tehillim. There's copies of the parak on the table, followed by remarks from the Sgan Rosh Kollel, Rabbi Gedalia Shor. Shira Malois Mimamakim Kerosicha Adoinoi Adoinoi Shemo Bekoili Tianos Necho Kashuvoi Sekol Tachanunoi Im Avoinois Tishmorio Adoinoi Miyamoid Ki Imcha Slicha Leman Tivorei Ki Visi Adoinoi Ki Viso Nafshi V'lidvoroi Oicholti Nafshi Ladoinoi Mishemrim Laboiker Shoymerim Laboiker Yachel Yisrael El Adoinoi Kim Adoinoi Yachesed Verbe Moi Fidos V'hu Yiftes Yisrael Mikol Avoinoi Sov Hachenu Kol Beis Yisrael Anusrim Hatorah V'Shivyo Indemim V'Imim Bosho Mokim Yirachem Aleim V'Tzim Mitzvah Levocho Me'afilo Darim Shuvah D'Gula Hashto B'Gol V'Zman Korivin Emaromein
Ruchim Habayim B'Shem Hashem. It is so special and encouraging to see so many friends, so many supporters gathered here tonight. As I look around this room, as I see all the familiar faces, I feel such warmth, such a closeness. It's incredible. Words cannot express our appreciation for the support that you give and show to the Kollel. It is a bracha from HaKadosh Baruch Hu to be a part of this. And may HaKadosh Baruch Hu bench all of us with only continued bracha, nachas, simcha, arichas yamim. We shall all greet Mashiach b'meheru v'yameinu amen. I've had the privilege of being part of the Kollel for the last number of years. This has given me the opportunity to get to know, build relationships, and learn with so many people in our community. I must express my appreciation to my fellow Kollel members, current and alumni members, and to the Anhola of the Kollel. The schus that I have to be with them, learn from them, is something that is very dear to me, and I'm forever grateful for their friendship, guidance, and encouragement. They're all outstanding, skilled in their learning, and even more so in their sterling midas tovus. Throughout my time in the Kollel, I have heard so much about the impact that the Kollel has had. I'm sure that if we were to pass around the mic, we would hear many different stories as to how the Kollel has had a positive impact on them and the community in general. This is so true and really so amazing to hear and see. There are some unbelievable stories that I have personally seen over the years. The Ruach HaTorah, the energy created by the Torah, is way beyond my understanding, but yet we are privileged to see it and be a part of it. How exactly does the Kollel have such an effect on so many people? What connects so many to the Kollel? How does the Kollel touch and inspire so many of us? How is it that everyone feels so comfortable, young and older, all love coming to daven and learning the Kollel? It is impossible for me to understand or to explain what and how this works. A Kollel is a Makom Kodesh. Yisudasai Baharei Kodesh. Its foundation is rooted in holiness. The concept is definitely way beyond and above my simple understanding. but perhaps I can offer my feeling of what is so special and unique about our Kollel. Merkaz Hatorah Community Kollel. Yes, it is all in the name. Have you ever wondered or thought about what does the word Kollel mean? Literally, the word Kollel means including, to include. Why in the world is a Kollel called a Kollel? Wouldn't it make more sense for it to be called a Beis Halimud or something like that? Why a Kollel? The Torah is inclusive. The Torah includes everyone. The Torah needs everyone. When we all stood at Har Sinai as a nation of Klal Yisrael, all 600,000 neshamas were needed to receive the Torah. The Sfarim tell us that even if just one neshama was missing, we would not have been able to receive the Torah. We are all called Klal Yisrael. Yisrael, this stands for Yesh Shishim Ribu Oisius HaTorah. There are 600,000 letters in the Torah. Each one of us represents a letter in the Torah HaKadoshah. If a Sefer Torah is missing even one tiny letter, the entire Torah is puzzle. It cannot be used. We are all part of Torah. We all make up the same Torah. We all stood at Har Sinai as one, and we continue forever as one connected through the Torah. The Ramban explains that the concept and the mitzvah of building a Mishkan was to contain and to retain the Shekhinah that rested on us at Har Sinai. The Shekhinah should be able to have a place to continue to rest in a more permanent way, not just as a one-time event, and that would continue with the Mishkan. My great uncle, Rabbi Gedalia Shozatzal, in his Sefer Or Gedal Yahu, explains beautifully how the main focus of the Mishkan is the Aron, the Torah. Just as it was at Har Sinai, we were zeicha to the Shekhinah through receiving the Torah, so too the Shekhinah will dwell in the Mishkan, where the Torah is the primary focus. The Vilna Gaon in Shir HaShirim tells us that the Beis HaMikdash was the one place in the world where all the hearts of the Yidden were gathered. That is the reason that in order to build and to create the Beis HaMikdash, every single person needed to participate. And as they gave with their hearts were joined and bound as one. If the Mikdash was a replica of Har Sinai, then we obviously need every single neshama to have a part, to belong, and to connect. Just like a Sefer Torah missing even just one small letter would make it puzzle, so too would the Mishkan not be able to house the Shekhinah correctly without everyone included. Chazal teach us that the reason for the terrible Churban, the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash, was sinas chinam, not respecting one another. Yes, if the very essence of the Beis HaMikdash was a place to gather all the hearts and the neshamas of Klal Yisrael, without constant achdus, it cannot continue to exist. The Kollel is a mini Mikdash. The Kollel represents the Torah. It is the crown of the Torah. Therefore, the Kollel is a place for everyone. The Makom Torah, the place of learning and teaching Torah, must be all-inclusive. This very well may be the reason why we all naturally feel so comfortable and can connect in such a meaningful way with the Kollel. Perhaps that is why it's called Kollel. Its very existence is to include every single neshama in Klal Yisrael. I've heard from many people how it is really unbelievable that the Kollel was able to purchase the most amazing location for the new building. I've heard comments of how the future building will be, Bez Hashem, the crown jewel of our community. It is true. But I would just like to correct that statement. What is the Kollel? The Kollel is literally all of us, inclusive as one. We are the crown jewel. The building, which Bez Hashem will be built beautifully, will be the house for our crown jewel, our community. I would like to end by expressing my deepest and most sincere gratitude to my father-in-law and mother-in-law, Rabbi and Rebbetzin Gradin. What they do for us on a personal level is beyond description. And as everyone here can attest to, what they have created and developed here in the community is absolutely astounding. They both are moist and nefesh every single day, all the time, to make sure the Kollel can function, the Kollel can succeed, and most of all, to make sure that we only continue to try as hard as we all can to make a true Kiddush Hashem. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu bench them with arichas yamim, nachas, gesund, and only continued bracha in all that they do. Please turn your attention to the screen for the renderings of the future Kollel building provided by the design crew. It may not be the final actual model in terms of details and decor, but it is the basic layout and design of the building, the different rooms and their setup. Thank you. We will now have the honor of hearing words from our close friend, major supporter of the Kollel, Mr. Henry Manicherry.
Good evening. Just wanted to briefly introduce you to a new and perhaps undiscovered dimension of the Kollel. If you come to the Kollel during the day at Mincha, which is typically around 2:30 p.m., you'll be treated to an unparalleled tefillah experience, unlike anywhere else in the city. And to daven with the Kollel Rabbanim is like participating in a training exercise with a group of Navy SEALs. The tefillah is meaningful, it is serene, it's heartful, and I can tell you from my experiences several times during the week, especially in the winter days, that it is worth taking the time from your busy schedule to come in the afternoon and be there. And your tefillahs will be answered, and all the members warmly welcome you. When you walk in, someone hands you a siddur. They acknowledge that you're there, that you're present. And on your way out at 3 o'clock, somebody, one of the Avarechim, will come up to you and offer you a cup of coffee. And they'll make that for you on the spot. You'll have the same similar experience when you go there for Ma'ariv. It's very, very meaningful, although probably longer than most other minyan factories in town. But I really urge you to come and try it for yourself. And everything after you come there, I assure you, it will fall in place. And your day and your week will be full of much bracha, hatzlacha, and a true good feeling of accomplishment will follow. So that's a new dimension that perhaps people did not know about, and I would highly recommend it. I'd like to bring your attention to the following video, followed by comments from our Rosh Kollel, Rabbi Graydon. Thank you.
I've been involved with the Kollel since its inception. As a long-term member of Beth Jacob, I was very aware of the Kollel from the start. It was really visionary of Rabbi Wild and Rabbi Graydon to establish the Kollel in a location where it could have such an influence of enhancing the presence of Torah in the community. At the Kollel, you'll find a welcoming environment and a haven from the day-to-day. My learning with Rabbi Younger has been transformative and enriching. We've spent more than 6 years together. Learning Torah with the proper guidance and kavanah can only have a positive influence. It's a mitzvah, intellectually stimulating and a guide to life and lifestyle. It helps me to remember what is important, and if I am zocher, to carry that with me into the world. The Kollel provides a foundation for life. You learn Torah, you gain spiritual growth, interact with your community. Your learning flows through you to your family and friends who will also benefit. There is a flow of energy, learning and gratitude, and these are all benefits everyone can appreciate. We are very fortunate to have Rabbi Graydon and Merkaz Hatorah here in the Pico Robertson community.
It is my schus to be part of this special kollel. All the Avrechim are so skilled, all with such great midas. They are so friendly and all so approachable. It brings me great joy when I can help arrange a new chavrusa between a kollel member and one of our community members. These chavrusas, over the years, have developed strong relationships, having learned many different sugyas and mesechtas together, and have shared simchas and life events as one. We see all the time how the Torah is alive, is exciting, it's inviting. We have been so fortunate that most of my fellow Avrechim, friends from the Kollel, have chosen to settle with the beautiful families here in Pico. This is a testament to the strong sense of community that the Kollel has developed.
The Kollel is a refuge, a place of Torah, a place without distraction, and a place to connect. Spending time in the Kollel and with the members of the Kollel is a constant and regular reminder of what actually matters. Dedicating time to learning in the Kollel has provided a wonderful foundation and balance in my life. It helps me keep the right perspective for all of the other really important things that we do. It's such a privilege learning with Rabbi Byron. He's so knowledgeable and at the same time incredibly humble. I'm grateful for the time that we spent together. I can always count on Rabbi Graydon to say what's on his mind. He gives it to me straight. When I've asked him for advice, he was able to distill what I thought was a complicated issue into something with a clear answer. Having a kollel, a place where men spend time learning with sincerity, has to have an effect on the community surrounding it. Beyond that, the community has been foundational in transforming the Pico community to the place it is today, a place where growth-oriented families can feel comfortable living.
A Jewish community derives its strength, its vitality, and its essence from the Jewish home. At the center of the home, the Jewish woman is the Merkaz Habayis. She builds her family, and in turn, she builds the community. For the past decade, with the full backing and support of Rabbi Graydon and the Merkaz Hatorah Kollel, Merkaz Habayis Women's Learning Division has endeavored to uplift, educate, and provide spiritual nourishment to the women of our community. With hundreds of shiurim and programs that engage the intellect, heart, and spirit, Merkaz Habayis connects, inspires, and most importantly, sparks real transformation. From parenting and Shalom Bayis classes to our Halacha in the Home series, Chesed projects and dating mentorships, one-on-one chavrusas, text-based learning, couples classes, and more. Our 800-plus women of all ages, stages, and backgrounds have become infused with joy and purpose in their singular mission of building homes, raising and elevating families, while nurturing and leading generations to come.
Our Kollel has grown to become the center of Torah. The Kollel is able to provide a strong foundation rooted in the Torah, allowing the ideals and values of the Torah to flow. As Torah continues to grow, multiply and flourish, we look forward to Be'ez Hashem being part of the expansion, the future, more learning, more shiurim, more Kiddush Hashem, and even more impact on the community at large.
Thank you and good evening. We have a lot to be thankful to the Rebbeinu Shel Olam for the last 15 years. All that you have seen here tonight is the development of the realization of what began as I wouldn't say a vision, perhaps more like a dream, 16, 17 years ago. And with the unbelievable Hashgacha Pratis and direct involvement of the Rebbeinu Shel Olam, we are here tonight celebrating 15 years and looking forward to continuing Ad She'yavo Mashiach Emetz Hashem. It's hard for me to remember all that we went through, but I have a vivid recollection of sitting in the parking lot at LAX, waiting for Rabbi Hirschman of Ateres Avigail and Pika Beis Medrash today, who was arriving then to be one of the prime members of the first group of the Kollel with 4 small children. And my anxiety was so great that my heart was pumping. I thought it was going to jump out of my body. I had my son Reuven in the car next to me. I'm not sure exactly what he thought I was going through. But I was asking myself, where did I lose my sanity? 10 families are going to come here, and there's no natural source of income, no natural support. We're bringing them to one of the most expensive cities in America to make a Mokum Torah. How's it meant to work? I certainly didn't have the answer. Well, I don't have the answer still today. My wife always asks me, okay, so how do you do it? Where does the money come from? When I avoid answering her, she thinks I don't want to speak to her. But even when she makes an appointment, I don't answer, so. We don't know the answer. I will share with you an insight of Rav Gedalia Shor Zichron Livracha. Gedalia Shor says, based on the pasuk in last week's parsha, Es Yehuda Shalach Lefanav Goshna, that when Yaakov ultimately was commanded to come down to Egypt to meet his son Yosef, and then there would be the establishment of the Jewish Yishuv in Goshen, Yaakov would not come down until he sent Yehuda, one of his greatest sons, to begin a Beis HaTalmud, to open a yeshiva, to make a place of learning. Says Reb Gedalia, there is no way that the Jewish people can survive the Golus, can survive being surrounded not just by 70 nations that try to destroy us, but 70 nations that keep radiating false ideas, lies, fake news, and all sorts of bad and dangerous things that could destroy the neshamas of ourselves and our children. You can't do that just with meticulous keeping of mitzvahs. You can't do that by abiding by minhagim. You can't even do it by going to shul. Those are all critical factors without which we will fail. But the generator which has to make it work is Talmud Torah. And what's unique about Talmud Torah is that it envelops the entire person. When a person's mind is connected to the Torah, and I probably say this often, But I can't help but remark year after year, we've just had the Archikala in the Kollel, which between Xmas and the New Year's, we have 4 days dedicated to learning with Balabatim. And the 40, 50 people who take off the entire week, they come to learn. And every year, but the same thing catches my eye. There is constant smile on the face of the people who are studying. There's kimat nobody playing with a cell phone. The wives hear what I'm saying? There's kimat no husband playing with his cell phone, or whatever type of phone he has. And the Ruach HaTorah, and the roimamus, the elevation that you feel, and the simcha that people feel, just shows you that the Torah is in the blood of the Jewish people. We need to replenish it constantly. And if we want to help our Jewish brothers and sisters around the world, we have to want to teach them Torah. The famous Israeli Baal Tshuva Uri Zohar, we are in the first year of his passing, always used to tell me, he says, when you get a young man, learn with him tractate Baba Kama from the Talmud. So, but the guy doesn't know that if it was in Shabbos and Xmas, what's he going to do with Baba Kama? He says, you don't believe in the strength of the Torah. You watch the Torah at work and you'll see. And he's right. There's another point. Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky points out this idea. Rashi explains to us that when Yaakov was 63 years old, his parents, Yitzchak and Rivka, instructed him to go and get married and find a wife. He immediately proceeded to go to the yeshiva of Shem ve'Ever for 14 years, till he was 77. Today we got trouble with Shana Bet. But he went off for 14 years when he was 63. Where was he going? What was missing until now? So Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky's Chusa Yogan Aleinu says what only he can say. Only he has the grasp and the view, the perception to say there's two types of Torah. There's Torah's HaGeula and there is Torah's HaGolus. There is the pure Torah, or the quintessential Torah, the Torah which grapples just with Torah ideas. There's no conflict, nobody's bothering you, and you delve and you plummet into the depths of the Torah and you grow. But then there's another Torah, the Torah that gives you the tools to deal with Golus, the tools to deal with ideas and thoughts and outlook and concepts which are not only foreign to us as Jews but foreign to humanity. The constant being besieged. We see it today more than any other generation. Every simple thing that was given and understood, marriage, determination of gender, children, all disappearing. They disappear in front of your eyes. For that you need special training. Before Yaakov went to Beis Lavan, he needed special training. It took 14 years, to quote my dear friend Henry, to create the Navy SEAL, who was able to live 20 years in the house of Lavan. And when he met his brother Esav, he said, don't think that I slipped one madrega in the last 20 years. Im Lavan garti, ves mitzvosav shamarti, tariag mitzvah shamarti. I might have lived with the Lavan. There wasn't one thing that I was missing. And that's exactly what we saw in the Holocaust. People, Chaim Brisk, a member of the Kollel, is probably here tonight. And his grandfather, Zechrona Livracha, didn't miss one day of putting on tefillin in Auschwitz. We can't understand what that means. Every single day, sakonis nefashis. In the middle, they got lost. He found them somewhere else. Stories that are beyond concept. That's Torah Sagolus and has to be learned. And that's exactly what Yaakov went off to learn. But when we began the Kollel, apart from the blessings of Reb Shneur Kotler, Zechron Avroch, Lakewood Rosh Yeshiva, Reb Nosson Wachtfeugel, Lakewood Mashgiach, Reb Elia Tzvei, Zechron Livrocha, Philadelphia Rosh Yeshiva, who asked us to make the Kollel, Rabbi Chaim Fassman, who was the spearhead of pushing us forward to do this. I always think of the mashal of Rabbeinu Yonah. Rabbeinu Yonah in Elvis brings the following mashal. It's an anomaly. When a ship is about to embark on its maiden voyage, they take a bottle of champagne and they have a great simcha and they smash it over the bow of the boat and everyone's happy. When the boat returns successfully from its maiden voyage, it slips into the port and nobody notices. So Yonah says, what do you mean? It should be the opposite. It's about to leave, to go and embark on a trip. Nobody knows it'll ever come back. Take a look at the Titanic. What are you celebrating? But when they come back from a maiden voyage, that's the time. And that he says of the pasuk, Toiv Shem Mishem and Toiv, V'yoim HaMoves M'yoim Yivoldoi. That even though the day of death of a person is a sad day, but if the person is accomplished, what an unbelievable thing to send a neshama back to the Shemayim with accomplishments from Olam Hazeh. When we began, we didn't break a bottle of champagne across the bow of the ship because we couldn't afford the bottle of champagne. But the point is, today we're able to say and turn around, and I must comment, I'm totally overwhelmed by the turnout, not just because of the turnout, for two things. One is it's a rainy night, and people aren't used to rainy nights in California. For me, it's my natural habitat. And nevertheless, people came, and even older people who find it difficult to go, came to Kavod HaTorah. And the other thing is that I must mention, there's a fantastic sense of friendliness here and comfort. A fantastic sense of people all being bound around one central theme, and that's Avos HaTorah. And it's something for which we're very grateful. We aren't here after 15 years by accident. As much as everything is dependent on HaKadosh Baruch Hu's hashgacha. But there are people to whom we owe a lot, we have to thank. Firstly, to thank Rabbi Daniel Danishevsky, the Rosh Chabura, who has skillfully and diligently led the Beis Medrash. It's a very, very skillful activity. What to learn, when to learn, to what depth to learn, how much time to spend, what to try to accomplish, who to partner with whom in the learning. And of course, he's today the primary and premier Rosh Chabura in the city. Rav Aryeh Adler Shlita, who is paskins all the shilas for the Kollel, and for much of the city. And when Rav Bess leaves town, he leaves a list of numbers to call, and Rabbi Adler's number is prominent in that list. My son-in-law, Rav Gedalia Shor, spoke before. Without whom, and his son Yaakov, the Kollel wouldn't stand so much. Then comes my partner, Mikey Horowitz. Mikey's determination and diligence and non-stop energy to insist on what is right gets done is a driving force without which the Kollel would not be where it is today. I want to thank also Davi Berman of David Elliott Building, who invested a tremendous amount of time in the building, as you saw before for the rendition. A lot of it is his ideas. We have David Leventhal and his son-in-law Moshe Rottenberg, who have watched and managed the Kollel's money and the Kollel's debt and the Kollel's everything else with tremendous skill and with tremendous ne'emanus, dependent, responsible, warm, respectful, wonderful. To thank Mrs. Sora Gertel, who is responsible for that Merkaz Hatorah program, which I truly believe is the best program in the country for ladies. It's not about learning. It's about addressing all the different issues that the women face in terms of raising children, in terms of developing a home, in terms of their own spiritual growth, constantly finding things that we can learn from and grow from with a tremendous team of speakers who make themselves available to her. Mrs. Rich, Mrs. Kleiman, who officially retired, and Mrs. Rich still did more than everyone else put together. That was in the retirement. And of course, Mrs. Tali Merowitz, who put the whole dinner together tonight. And of the Kollel ladies, Mrs. Siri Younger and other women who take responsibility for all the events. Last but not least, is on my family. Kodesh Baruch Hu blessed me with a family of unusual people who reflect milas that one doesn't quickly see everywhere. It's not nice to talk about one's own family. I don't like to do so, but I have to at least recognize what I'm talking about. And of course, Barosh Kulam is my wife. And suffice it to say, Shali v'shalachem shaloi. What's with the future? We spoke about what's happened until now. What's with the future? The future is symbolized by the building. But as Rabbi Shaw correctly said, the building is not an end to itself. The building is a mokum of Kedusha, a Merkaz, a place which will give and show the primacy of Torah, a sophisticated community and a community blessed with resources will have, Americas will have a center which will promote Talmud Torah and will be ingrained in the veins, in the blood of our children and grandchildren. But let me tell you, share with you a story with which I will conclude, which is the vision I have for the future. It's going to sound a little bit strange to you, but please give me your attention just for a couple more minutes. In 1945, just before the Germans, Yimach Shmam v'Zichram la'ad l'netzach netzachim, the Germans didn't surrender until, I believe, May of 45. Before that, there were already displacement camps. The Russians particularly taken over most of Eastern Europe. And there was a DP camp in a place called Czernowicz in Poland. And there were several very great people there. One of the great people there was the Skolena Rebbe. It's not an evening to talk about the Skolena Rebbe. Skolena Rebbe is a person who had himself beaten and thrown into prison and destroyed physically for the Jewish people, for another Jew. And he was seen as the leader in this particular DP camp. And as the time was rolling past, they had no food, they had no clothes, they had nothing, they had no sfarim to learn. He became obsessed with providing flour to bake matzah for Pesach. He's going to bake matzahs for Pesach in a DP camp with no oven and no flour, no money, and nothing to eat. You've got to wonder, why is he worried so much about matzahs? There's other things to worry about. Well, let me tell you something about matzah. You've all heard of Reb Chaim Ozer Grudzinski, the Rav of Vilna, the greatest rabbi of Europe in his time, undoubtedly. And apparently, 1 year, shortly before his death, he called in to his office the head of the student council of the University of Vilna, the Jewish student council. The Jewish students in the university in Vilna weren't Orthodox. There were no more Orthodox than Jewish students are today are not Orthodox. But Reb Chaim Ozer was a person who called, you came. So the president of the student union came, and Reb Chaim Ozer spoke to him. Reb Chaim Ozer asked him, "Are you making a seder for the students?" And he said, "Yes." He said, "Do you have matzah for this? Do you have matzah for the students?" And he said, "No." Chaim Ozer took money out of his pocket, a large amount of money, and said, "Buy matzahs for the students." These are people who machal Shabbos b'fehesia. We don't know what matzah is. We don't understand what the mitzvah is. But Gedolim did know. And the Kollel is going to go out and he's going to make matzahs for Pesach. So eventually he gets hold of a sack or a couple of sacks of flour, which halachically he considered acceptable to use to make matzahs for the Seder night. And he started making the matzahs. He kashered a bakery, and he started making matzahs. And eventually he had what he needed, and he announced, there's two different versions of the story, either each person will get 3 matzahs or each person will get 1 matzah. But everyone has to understand, you get what you're told to take, and that's it. That's the end of it. There's no bargaining, there's no extra. Everyone's going to get as many people as they can. And everyone listens. And along came Moshe Hager. Moshe Hager was the son of the Seret Vishnitz Rebbe, who was also in the camp there, in the DP camp. And he took his 3 matzahs. Then he bent over to the school and he said to him, "My father told me to take another 3 also. And my father's a Rebbe, a big Hasidic master, and he wants 3 more. So the Skolena told him, "I said to you explicitly, everyone's getting only 3. There's no exceptions." So Moshe Hager said, "My father told me not to come home unless I have 3 more matzahs." Skulena must have been thinking in his head, in the gas chamber, did they give you 3 extra shots of gas? Is there any difference between any of us? We've just been through hell, and we're just a couple of ragtime people left over. And everyone wants a chance. Why are you pressing this Rebbe business? But he wouldn't say anything. And eventually he determined that the Sarah Vision Rebbe is also a great man. It's not my job to judge him. I'm going to give him the 3 matzahs. So he had 6 matzahs. And he continued to give out the matzahs. Erev Pesach, Moshe Hager, the son of the Sarah Vision Rebbe, comes back to the Skulena Rebbe. He says, Rebbe, you gave out the matzahs. Tell me the truth. Did you keep 3 for yourself? And the Skulena started crying. He said, how could I keep a matzah for myself when the people begged me for matzahs? I couldn't keep any. I don't have a matzah. So Moshe Hager told him, that's why my father took 3 extra matzahs for you. You hear? That's what the Kollel is about. If you learn enough Torah, and you have enough Yiras Shamayim in life, a few things will happen. You might go and do something that will make you unpopular if it's the right thing to do. Moshe Hager must have felt very uncomfortable when he was standing there in front of the Skulena trying to persuade him to give him 3 extra matzahs. Other people are standing in line begging for something and he's getting 3 extra. He knew why, but he wasn't allowed to say why. People could have poured scorn on him, people could have laughed at him, people could have derided him, kept quiet. The Skulena could have made a fuss, and he could have chased him away, and he could have been judgmental, and he could have said he still didn't get rid of the complex, and this and that. Bent himself. No. Listen carefully. He's a great man. He must have a cheshbon. Sensitive to other people's feelings. All this in a high madrega can only come from Talmud Torah. That's what the Kollel's here for. That's what the next 15 years are here for. We should all learn more. We should all attend more shiurim. We should all understand our responsibilities and our accountability. We should be thankful to the Ribbono Shel Olam for what we're able to do. Yes, we live in a difficult galus, but it isn't half as difficult as what all our parents and grandparents had to live with. HaKadosh Baruch Hu should help, that we should be zeicher to see Haramas Keren HaTorah, that every place, all the places that teach Torah and learn Torah, that they should all grow and be successful. And all the people should find their place in these institutions. And remember what I said last year, when Mashiach comes, we're going together with the building to Yerushalayim. The building will be part of the Merkaz Hatorah that will exist in Yerushalayim, the expanded Yerushalayim HaKodesh, as the Gemara Masechta Megillah says and the Mashor explains. Once again, let me thank you all for coming. We're going to bench immediately after this, after which there will be Ma'ariv. There is also a buffet, I believe, of cake. I'm not sure if there is risen, but it's always provided gratis by Schwartz Bakery, who take a great interest in the Kollel's activities. Thank you very much.
ויעשה משיח אני מאמין ואף על פי שישמח עם כל זה אחכה לו ואף על פי שישמח